Hello again. Welcome into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. And look at there, way down yonder in her LSU cap, just grinning like a Chessy cat. Must be that Friday afternoon grin.
It is the Friday afternoon grin.
PLPC Carla McCormick.
Darn proud to be here.
We're proud, Ruben and I are proud that you are here. And speaking of Ruben, our ace of the airwaves, man, what a week you've had.
I've had a little bit of a week, yeah.
Yeah. Ruben Wright has been doing double duty, waking up at the crack of dawn to be here
before the crack of dawn.
Before the crack of dawn for
more like the middle of the night.
Yeah, for Robert and Erin's program, and then coming back.
You might have heard me on the news instead of traffic this week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you sounded good too.
Thank you.
So anyway, our ace producer Ruben Wright keeps us flying high, low, and in between.
Out of the mountains.
Yeah. So that reminds me of the word quest.
Quest.
When I say the word quest, what do you think of immediately,
We're
Carla?
going on a journey. What are we going in search of?
We're going to go in a journey. What do you think of, Ruben?
The video game Fester's Quest on Nintendo.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So see,
You are such a nerd.
we all think, but the point is, we all think something different, don't we? And yet, this life that we're all on, it's a quest of sorts. It's a journey of sorts. Might even be virtual reality in a video game if you think about it. How's that for tying those two together? Yeah. But what do you need if you're going to go on a journey? You need a map, right?
Yes, you do.
We're going to talk. We're wrapping up Thoughts and Feelings Week here on Strategies for Living. And so this evening, we're going to talk about the questions.
Okay.
And it may present us with a map of sorts, if you will. We'll come back, and if that's cloudy right now, if that's muddy, we'll come back and we'll either cloud it up further or we'll clear it up. One of the two. I'm not sure which.
We're going on some kind of journey tonight, guys. Buckle up and hang on.
There you go. And thank you, folks, for tuning into Strategies for Living this evening. We are presented, as always, by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. They've been on a quest to help individuals and families for 60 years now. We're also brought to you by Resilient House. We're brought to you by Milestones Counseling Center, by Jerry Anderson, State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, and by Jacob's Well Inspirational Books and Gifts. Strategies for Living. You never know what he's going to pull out. You just never know.
He's that good.
Yeah, we'll be back. If we're talking addiction prevention, education, and treatment in Shreveport-Bossier for 60 years, we're talking about CADA. Let's talk about addiction. Let's talk about treatment. Let's talk about getting your life back. The Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, CADA, has been helping individuals and families in Shreveport and Bossier City for 60 years now. CADA provides intensive residential treatment as well as outpatient services too. CADA treats women with children, pregnant women, adolescents, veterans. CADA has helped thousands and thousands of people in North Louisiana from just about every race and ethnic background, every socioeconomic level, across every class line. CADA has helped single mothers, attorneys, teachers, nurses, doctors, construction workers, musicians, you name it. Life is better on the other side of recovery. Call 222-8511 or www.cadanwla.org.
Men, are you tired of those daily blue enhancement?
Yeah, we're on a quest. Welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living, PLPC. Carla McCormick in her, notice, Ruben, in her weekend attire.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I started the weekend a bit early.
And you've already made a little money on the deal this evening. She's paid you to keep the camera off of her this evening.
I've already lost that money.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, you have.
geez. I know, guys.
But I like the LSU cap. I really do.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's great. You know what? Okay. What do you mean okay? Of
Well,
course
you know,
it's okay.
I figured what caps to wear. Nobody can argue with LSU,
no,
right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, all right. So, if we're going to go on a journey, and this life is a journey, it's a quest. You know, you and I talk a lot about this, Carla. It's the old ego, right? Mm-hmm. The operating system. It's packed full. It gets packed full of words and messages and beliefs and stories, many of which get programmed in very, very early in our lives.
Without you even knowing it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, our parents, you know, contribute. They add, but our parents aren't the only ones that contribute those words and messages and beliefs and stories. Our grandparents do, our neighborhood community does, our church community, if we're part of that, does, our larger, you know, the culture of our state. You know, we have a different culture up here in North Louisiana than you folks from, you know, where you originated down in South Louisiana, right?
May I'll even talk a little funny up here too.
Oh, I just love it. I love it when she starts that. And so my point is that ego almost sets up an expert status. The ego kind of takes over the entire, you know, vehicle, if you will, this entire system that is us, and would have us believe that, okay, I'm the expert. I know it all. And one of the first things I think we have to do is we have to shift that. You know the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Young grasshopper.
Yeah, there you go. I love quotes. Albert Einstein, and this to me really speaks to what we're beginning to talk about here. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them.
What's the definition of insanity?
And that's again, that's Albert Einstein, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so, you know, some of the questions that we might ask ourselves is, what's our level of calmness and curiosity and feeling connected one to another? How's our courage? How's our clarity? What's our level of creativity? What's our level of confidence? What's our level of compassion? Are we contented? How are we cleaning up around our world? A lot of C's there, right?
I love it.
Yeah, but you could even scale. You could even rate yourself on those things. You know, 1 to 100. How creative am I? How creative do I feel? How calm do I usually feel? How curious do I stay? How connected do I feel? How courageous am I? And you know, we can kind of step back and see, you know, how content overall am I with my life? Do I see, when I look at those ratings, do I see some repetitive patterns, you know, in my life? And am I ready to quit my wrestling match with life? And really, the wrestling match is not so much with life; it's really within ourselves.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And again, how this all relates to our feelings and our thinking, because we're in Feeling and Thought Week, is because all of this is involved in the feeling thought process that we've been talking about this week. So one of the first things we've got to do is we've got to shift out of that quote-unquote expert status that the ego would have us believe that we are, and we've got to make a choice and make a decision. It's the power of choosing and deciding, I'm going to be a student. And so I've got to get curious. Actually, I've got to get two of those C's especially. I've got to get curious and compassionate. Curious and compassionate. Curious about myself and what's within me and the rest of the world, but I also need to be compassionate. Compassionate with everybody that I meet and with myself.
Well, you've got to give up your need to be right.
Yeah.
And that's what you say when you got to give up your expert status.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm just going to recap again for the listeners who might be new. When you say ego, you're not talking about somebody who walks around with a big ego, with a big head.
No.
We're talking about ego in the sense of psychology ego.
Yes, we're talking about the compilation, if you will. I mean, when we come into the world, most of us have pretty good brains that develop. We develop the ability to feel. We've talked about this earlier in the week, actually starting Monday. Feelings are really physical. Our feeling self is the part of our brain that feels. Those are physical sensations. As the brain develops, we have the ability to think, to cognize, and those feelings and thoughts work together, almost like a cycle, and begin to drive our behavior. When we come into the world, we're all feelings, and then we learn thoughts. And actually, a lot of what we call feelings are really thoughts that label feelings. We said that earlier in the week, too. Anger is not really technically a feeling. It's a word. It's a label for a feeling. The actual feeling of anger is what's going on in your body. So if your muscles are all tightening up, your jaw's tightening up, you're clenching you're clenching your hands and your feet. I'm mad. That physical sensation, that's the feeling. And then I might label it. I might put a label on it. I'm pissed. And the minute I put that label on it, it's going to immediately then influence the thought, which is going to influence influence the feeling, which is going to immediately influence the thought. Now I'm really pissed, right?
Right.
And there it goes. Okay? And so we get into that cycle. And some of us don't realize that that's, there's something else coming in through the thinking part of our brain, and that's the ego. That's all of these words, messages, beliefs, and stories that have been stored. It kind of forms an operating system, if you will. It's kind of like DOS in a computer. DOS runs in the background, right?
And you load everything else on top of DOS.
Right, and you never, unless you're a programmer like Ruben, who knows what the heck he's doing in a computer, you're never getting into DOS.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, you blew your expert status
right
right
fake
there.
it till you make it in working order right here.
There you go.
So I have a question. When lay people say, "Oh, he's got such a big ego," they're referring to the same thing, but that part of the operating system that makes us feel like we're right and you're wrong, and our way is the best way to do
exactly.
it. So we're really talking about the same thing.
We really are, but what we usually call big egos is that part. It's a belief or a story about myself and the world that, hey, I'm entitled. Hey, what I think is more important than what you think.
And I'm right and you're
and
wrong.
I'm right and you're wrong.
Yes.
So again, yeah, it's the same thing. I'm just expanding a bit in terms of, this is what I'm calling the ego / operating system. So again, when we think about this as, all right, how do we begin? How do we begin the process of engaging? We said this evening we were going to talk about the quest. We're going to talk about the questions. And there's 7 of them that we really need to engage. And I call them the big questions and the magic questions, or the map questions. And the reason, we'll get into why I call them the magic / map questions later. But when we come back from this first break, let's engage the big questions, the big ones. Because how you answer the big questions is really going to impact a lot of what you do with this operating system.
Let's make Ruben answer on the air.
Ooh, well,
I'll try anything once.
we may really mess with his operating system if we do that.
He needs to be defragged anyway.
Okay, we'll come back, folks. We'll defrag Ruben when we come back here on Strategies for Living. And maybe in the process of defragging Ruben, we'll defrag all of us.
We can only hope.
We'll be back. And welcome back in. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. with PLPC Carla McCormick. And, okay, so we're on a quest. So if we want to shift into the mode of curious students, that's where we need to be. Then we need to engage some questions. We need to engage the big questions and the map questions, or the magic questions. So let's engage the big questions first. And I'm going to propose that the answers that you give to these questions make a profound difference in the way you live, and will aid you in both cleaning out and reinstalling your DOS, your operating system, right?
So do I answer the questions the way I am now, or the way I want to be?
I think you have to do both.
Okay.
I think you have to look at both, because the first of there's 7 questions that are really vital for, in my opinion, for us to wrestle with. So the big questions, and religions, all religions ultimately attempt to answer these questions, I think.
Okay.
And help us to religions are wonderful in that they help us, they lead us to the doorway, if you will. I said earlier this week, I may have made some people uncomfortable. Quite frankly, I get a little uncomfortable when I say this to myself. But religions present these big questions to us. They present possible answers to the big questions. But really, religions only get us to the nursery school or the kindergarten level. Ultimately, spirituality is an individual quest. And religions are wonderful in that they lead us to that doorway of spirituality, and hopefully invite us to move into them. But sometimes not. I got to tell you, I got to be honest, and I'm not picking on any one denomination now, and I'm not picking on Christianity. I'm going across the board. I've known a lot of people who were very religious, but they weren't very spiritual. I've also known a lot of spiritual people that weren't very religious. So, but it's possible to combine the two, but it's got to be an individual quest. And I think the big questions help. So the big questions: who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going after this? Now think about those. Those are simple questions, aren't they? And yet, they're so simple, they're profound. Who am I? Who am I? And so how I answer that question, how I engage and wrestle with that question is going to profoundly impact and affect how I live my life.
You mean not just my name, or not just that I'm a mother, and not just that I'm what my profession is, who I am.
Well, okay, let me mess with you a little bit.
Okay.
You think your name is Carla.
Well, that's the name I was given, yes.
Right, that's the name you were given. How do you know? Can you prove to Ruben and I that you're Carla? In Don Miguel Ruiz's book, it kind of gets us here. You made an agreement. Your parents, I don't know whether they decided ahead of time or after you were born, but at some point they said, this is going to be Carla.
Right.
Yeah?
And
maybe it was in the womb, but do you know you're Carla? No, you don't know you're Carla. Everybody agreed in your family that you were Carla, and so you became Carla, and you've agreed all your life that you're Carla, right?
Yeah.
And I know I'm messing with you a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, but do you really know that you're Carla? I mean, she could be Kal-El.
I thought she was Sparky.
Thank you.
There you go.
Sparkles.
There you go. You see my point? You see,
right.
I'm trying to make a point that there are so many things that we never question that are installed into that operating system. She's going to be Carla. Okay, I'm Carla. And you've lived your life as Carla. Okay, then you mentioned a second ago when you asked me, do you mean what my name is? Do you mean that I'm a mother? Do you mean that I'm a therapist? Do you mean, okay, so all of those, a lot of times the answers that we give to who am I involve what we do.
Right.
They involve the roles that we play. And some of those roles are very temporary. Mother, okay? Well, you're still a mother, but you mother very different today. You've been with your doctor daughter today.
I have
Yeah.
been.
And it's wonderful. But your doctor daughter is different today. She's a physician. She's about to start her practice. I know you're very proud of her.
And she's an adult.
And she's a grown adult. You have had to shift over time. You don't deal with her as you dealt with her when she was 5 or 6, right?
Or even when she was 16 or 17.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So that role changes.
Yeah.
It's fluid.
It's fluid, but sometimes we don't. Again, if we're so entrenched in the roles we play, I am mother, then I might stay or I am father. Don't want to pick on one gender over another. I might be so entrenched into that role, I won't let go of it, or I don't think I can let go of it, and it impacts everything in my life. Because if you tried to deal with your doctor daughter like she was 5 years old, I would be willing to guess. I would guess that she would quickly tell you, "Mom, back off," right?
She would definitely tell me that.
Yeah. So again, who am I is more than just the roles that we play, are our name, are our own labels that we've attached to ourselves. So who am I? Why am I here? What do I see? What do I see as my life's purpose, as my life, as my life vision and mission? Now, many times we get that given to us from the outside. Sometimes we're encouraged. Oh, Carla, you're gonna be a therapist. You're gonna grow up and you're gonna be a dentist. You're gonna grow up and you're gonna be a good dentist. And you've got to get yourself ready for dental school. And you got to be a dentist. And maybe you buy into that very early. And you jump through all the hoops that one has to jump through, and you become a dentist. But you're not a happy dentist. Why? Because maybe you never wanted to be a dentist. Maybe that wasn't who you are. Maybe that was somebody else's dream.
Are you talking about that little elf in the Santa Claus movie that he didn't want to be an elf? He wanted to be a dentist?
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I here? Not what other people tell me, but that's something that I have to wrestle with. Only I can wrestle with that. And there's plenty of people from the outside, well-meaning, that will quickly answer the questions for us, won't they? But ultimately, we have to answer those questions for ourselves. The third and final big question is, where am I going after this? Where, what's ahead for me? What's out there? Now, how one answers and grapples even with those three questions, I'm not even sure that it's absolutely vital that we have to have them answered with finality. But I think we have to wrestle with them. I think we have to grapple with them. I think we have to engage them. So those are the big questions. How we answer them is going to have a lot to do with how we live our lives. For instance, on that last one, where am I going after this? And if I just believe, well, I'm going to die and I'm just going to turn to dust and I'm finished, I'm done, that's going to be a life lived different from a life that says I have a soul or a spirit. I'm not just a body, but I'm a soul or a spirit that is inhabiting a body temporarily, and I'm moving on after this. This is an experience that this soul, this spirit, is having right now, and there's some purpose to that. That's going to be a different. That's going to be a life that looks very different from, well, I'm here for a little while and then I'm done. I'm dust. I'm finished. It's over. Through. Yeah, does that make sense?
Those are totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, you will live your life totally different.
And so that's the way these questions then become part of the feeling and thought cycle. I mean, we have to engage them cognitively through our thinking, and they will affect the way we feel and the emotions that we feel. Remember, we said emotions is basically that feelings and thought cycle together. That's emotions, energy in motion.
So are you asking people to, when they think of these questions, are the answers that they're giving themselves answers that someone else told them? You know, because you could be fed those answers as a kid, and it could be that, though, the answers to those questions could be part of your operating system.
Absolutely, and oftentimes are. I'm saying that until we wrestle with them and answer them individually, not somebody else's answers that are given to us from the outside. That's why I'm saying, with all due respect to religion, I mean, I think religion is wonderful. I practice it. I'm a part of one. And will continue to, but I don't expect religion to be something other than it is, than it can be. It can lead me to the door of spirituality. You know, Jesus the Christ, who we call the Christ, that's a belief, right?
Yes.
Said over and over and over, the kingdom of God is within you. It's not out there, over there, up there. It is within you. And so, for me, just for me, as I've wrestled with these big questions, what that's really saying to me is, who am I? I have to figure that out from within, because that kingdom is within me. It's not happening out there. It's happening in here for each one of us individually.
So if who am I is my job or my roles,
Right.
then maybe at some point comes the unfulfillment.
Well, and I'm setting myself up if that's the case, because what do we know about the world that we live in? We know about the world that everything is temporary.
And it's all changing.
Everything changes. So I might be, I might play this role today, but there are events and circumstances that might take that role away from me in a nanosecond.
Then who are you?
Yeah. All right. So the big questions, and then there's the magic question. We all love magic, don't we?
I love the magic question.
Yeah. So the magic questions, we could also call them the map questions. We'll engage those when we come back, talking about the questions this evening on strategy. You just think I'm cheesy, don't you?
You a little cheesy.
Just she's labeling me again, Ruben.
I know it.
Hey.
It's a tough room.
You have to just fight it off.
I know. We'll be back. Oh, how I wish they could hear what goes on when the microphones are off.
I would not be proud.
Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Marriage and family therapist David McMillan and PLPC Carla McCormick. We've all week we've been engaging feelings and thoughts. Feeling Thought Week here on Strategies for Living, and today we're talking about the quest, the questions, and we've talked about the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going to after this? Now let's talk about the map questions, or the magic questions. And I call them magic because you can use them over and over and over. Not because they don't
cast a spell.
They don't cast a spell or anything like that. I know. We all want the magic, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. We go to our doctors, we go to our therapist, we go to probably all professions, our lawyers, and we want the magic. We want to, wave your magic wand, give us your magic pill, do your magic thing.
Make me skinny and smart and beautiful.
Yeah. And life is still life. We have to do the work, and that's part of the, what Scott Peck said, first sentence of The Road Less Traveled, life is difficult. Yeah. That's a great truth. Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of sucky.
Yeah, it is. It is. So the magic questions are like, we can draw a map. We can draw the map over and over and over using these questions. And it's important as we move through life that we keep our maps current, Carla. Again, a quick example, if you and I didn't know Shreveport at all, and we were dropped down into exactly where we are right now, sitting out here in West Shreveport. And Reuben hands us a map, but it's a map that was drawn in 1947.
Okay.
Okay? We're going to have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I don't know how to get anywhere without the interstate.
Yeah, and there's no interstate in 1947. Right. It's not going to appear on a 1947 map. Greenwood Road might be here. Might be there. But way out here was in 1947. This was way out yonder. I'm not even sure. In fact, I am pretty certain that this wasn't in the city limits in 1947. Don't know that for 100% sure, but I'm educated guess.
Because we're damn near in Texas.
Yeah, we're almost Texas, and so this was probably very rural. This may have even been very wooded.
A cow pasture.
It may have been a cow pasture. May have been some kind of agriculture venue. I do know for a fact that this building we're in was not built until the late 70s, early 80s by great Empire Broadcasting, the people that bought KWKH radio from the Ewing family and the people that owned the Shreveport Times. Yeah. So this building was only constructed, when they came into they built this building, and so anyway, if we had a 1947 map and we were trying to navigate around, we would be hard pressed to do it. How many of us try to do that in our lives? If we ever drew maps for ourselves, how many of us don't revise those maps? Maybe we drew a map for ourselves back in middle school, I don't know, or high school, but we haven't revised our maps since then. Can you see how we would have a hard time? So
what do you mean by revive? I mean, what's the metaphor? How would I?
How do I keep my map current?
Yeah, how would I revise my map?
I've got to keep just as we would a map that was given to us from 1947. If we wanted to make it current, we would have to put in the city limits. Now we would have to draw I-20. We would have to draw I-49. We would have to draw 220. We would have to put all of that into that 1947 map to keep it current. Why would we want to do that? Because a map helps us to navigate the terrain. That's the quest. That's the journey that we're on in life, right? So the magic questions or the map questions are these. What do I want? What do I want now? When do I want it? I mean, I might want some things, but I don't want them right now, or it's impossible for me to have them right now. An example of that would be if I really want to be a doctor. I can't be a doctor just by wishing to be a doctor. I've got to be willing to, find a medical school that will accept me. I've got to pass the MCAT. I've got to, even back further than that, I've got to do the requirements to be able to even be accepted in medical school and to be accepted for interviews, if you will. Right. And then there's a long process to go through. Your family watched someone dear to you go through it. Yeah. And
it takes.
It's arduous.
Yes. Yeah. I had no idea. You might accidentally become a businessman, but you will never accidentally become a doctor. I have a new admiration for every one of them.
So what do I want? When do I want it? What, if anything, do I have to change in my life to get what I want? Again, back to that example of if I decide, if I put in my map, okay, I really, 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 really want to go to medical school, there's probably some things that I have to change. Like I got to go get some chemistry, and I got to get beyond just basic biology. I've got to get chemistry. I got to get biochem. I got to get physics. I got to get a lot of background stuff. I'll probably be. It'll probably take me till I'm around 85 to be able to get into med school, right? But if that's what I wanted to do, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
But I'd have to, I'd have to go, change. I'd have to go get that science classes behind me. So what if anything do I have to change to get it? How will my life be different when I get what I want? And I can use those questions. They're magic because I can use them over and over and over at a very simplistic level to keep my map current and revised. What do I want? When do I want it? What, if anything, do I have to change in order to get what I want? And how will my life be different when I get what I want?
Well, so we use those questions with clients who are struggling with their addiction or sobriety. What do I want? I want to be sober.
Right.
What do I have to give up? How will my life be different?
Right.
And a lot of times, I mean, the real answer is they're not willing to give anything up.
Yeah.
They want their lives to be different, but they're not willing to give up what they need to give up to make their lives different.
There's the wrestling match.
Right.
There's the engagement. There's the, you asked a second ago, well, what do we have to do to revise our maps? We gotta do a lot of erasing. We gotta do a lot of penning and drawing and penciling in, and we'll probably do that in a race and do it more in a race. And we've got to wrestle. We've got to engage. We've got to engage the quest. We've got to engage the process, because this is the life we live. This is life, right?
Well, and exactly. And you've got to find, ultimately, how will my life look if I am sober? You got to find something that whether it's sobriety or anything, you got to find something that's worth the prize that you're going after is worth giving up whatever you have to give up and doing whatever you're doing to be able to get to that prize.
Absolutely. The questions.
Questions is how you said it.
We will be back to I'll get cheesy again. Put icing on this cake. You hate. I've not used that one for a while.
Ruben, you have the camera on me rolling my eyes?
I missed it. I'm so
Darn.
sorry.
We'll be back.
I have done
welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. PLPC Carla McCormick, marriage and family therapist David McMillan. You know what, Monday? Have you ever thought about acupuncture?
I would love to learn more about acupuncture. I've never seen it done or had it done.
Meredith Stewart, who is a local provider, she's an acupuncturist right here in Shreveport. She's going to be our guest Monday evening.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we're gonna learn acupuncture 101. will kind of be our quest for Monday evening. So tune in, folks, if you're curious about what acupuncture is and you want to know more about it. Meredith Stewart will be our life strategist right here at 7:05 Monday evening. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Here we go.
So we've been talking all week about thoughts and feelings, and this has been Thought and Feeling Week on Strategies. We have iced the cake with the questions today. The big questions: who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? And the magic or map questions: what do I want? When do I want it? What, if anything, do I have to change in my life to get what I want? And how will my life be different when I get it? What do you think?
Change your thinking, change your life.
Yeah. And when you change it, the thing is, we all have, what have we got to engage? We've got thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And, you got to talking about this a bit last night. You can intervene, really. It's kind of hard to intervene at the feeling level because that's a little difficult if you really understand that those are physical sensations. But you can intervene at the behavioral level, or you can intervene at the thinking level. So you've got some choices there.
Well, and you can't always keep the thoughts from coming, but you can decide how long you're gonna leave them there and let them play.
Yeah, and you can decide, are you going to control the thoughts, or are you going to let the thoughts control you? Because for many of us, it's like the tail wagging the dog,
Right.
And, the thoughts control us, when in fact, we're, be healthier if we control the thoughts.
Well, and we have way more control over our thoughts than we even sometimes think we do.
Absolutely.
And that just takes practice.
Absolutely. But again, it's back to, it kind of gets back to where I was messing with you,
Right.
Where you believe you're Carla. How do you know? Because you were told you were Carla. So you gotta wrestle, Not, you don't have to wrestle with I'm Carla. Well, if your mom's listening, I just want her to know it's okay that you named her Carla.
I like my name.
Yeah, you nailed that. We won't call you Reuben. Yeah. We may call Reuben Carla, though.
Don't put that curse on anybody else.
Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We have been brought to you by, as always, CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. We've been brought to you by Milestones Counseling Center, by Resilient House, by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, and by Jacob's Well, inspirational books and gifts. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For PLPC Carla McCormick, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living.
This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.